All right, so I don't really care about the record so much. What I care about is more the players. So with that being said, this is Michigan players that got drafted in 2024, a total of 13 players. Um, for me personally, before I get through each player, I was very shocked that they didn't get drafted earlier in the first couple of rounds, the first, second, third, or fourth rounds of the draft. Personally, I know it sounds biased for me to say this, but personally, I would have taken the high national championship players first and then worked my way down the list. AJ Barner, though, is probably one guy I want to take a slight jab at, where he wasn't that great of a tight end, but he did help us win the game ultimately, and win us a national championship. But I do think that there was just so much misconstrued in this NFL draft this year that um, they shouldn't have um, waited for certain players and stuff. But with that being said, let's just go into it. So starting with like the 13th guy was Cornelius Johnson. He gets to go back with the Chargers, and he gets to go back with Jim Harbaugh, which is nice. And then let's see, Jalen Harrell, Ladarius Henderson is there, Michael Barrett's there, Trevor Kean is there, AJ Barner's there, Zach Sinter gets drafted, Roman Wilson gets drafted, Chris Jenkins gets to go to Cincinnati, Junior Colson gets drafted, Mike Junior Colson gets to go with the Chargers, which is nice. Mike Sanders still gets drafted. I wish he went to the Lions. Blake Corum gets drafted, and J.J. McCarthy gets drafted. Now, honestly, I think that there could have been more players. I think that people made mistakes not taking these guys. Now, the 5 University of Michigan players that did not get drafted today or in general for this 2024 draft are Brandon McGregor, who is a linebacker who was actually really, really good. He's 6'6", and he's a really good linebacker. Then you got Drake Nugent, who's an offensive lineman. He's interior, but he's still really good. You got Josh Wallace, who's a defensive back, who's actually pretty good. Then you got Carson Barnhart, who's another interior offensive lineman who's really good. And then you got Trent Jones, who they said he's interior offensive line, but I think he played outside a lot. So I don't know where these 5 other players of Michigan go. They could get picked up by a team in undrafted free agency, like how Victor Cruz did, and then they developed from there. I think it's kind of humiliating to see only not all of the players of Michigan get drafted. And frankly, sometimes you just have too many players that teams are just not going to take them into account and into consideration and stuff. But with that being said, Michigan definitely held the most this year for a draft with a total of 13 players. Honestly, I don't care about records. I don't care if they broke it against Georgia or whatever. My point is that more that it was kind of a shock to me that teams weren't taking these guys higher up because they won the national championship, and there wasn't that it factor that these teams were taking them, which was quite surprising for me. But I don't know your thoughts on this, but let me know. What do you guys think? Do you think that teams should have drafted the Michigan players, or do you think they shouldn't have? Frankly, I would have chosen people like these guys, whether it was the Giants or whoever, and I would have built my team around them. But ultimately, I see where people are coming from. So until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one. Go Blue. Good luck to all the next players that come into the draft next year. But yeah, the draft is over, and now we got to see where these teams lie. We got to see where these players lie, and ultimately, will these guys succeed and everything else? But yeah, so I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to stay radical, and that's all I got for you guys.